Hey guys, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in tonight. Tonight we are not going to be doing a rip, but instead something different as promised. Got a new microphone here, so hopefully the sound is good. As you can see here, we've got the website Tier Maker up, which kind of allows you to create customized tiers and, as you can see, drag and drop players into certain tiers. Down below here, we've got the faces of 25 starting quarterbacks in the NFL that are 32 years of age or younger. Now, a few of these guys, the five guys from the 2021 draft class, obviously, are not necessarily starters yet, but in this video, I want to predict or kind of give you my idea of which guys I would invest in for the next 5 years if you're looking to buy some cards of these guys. And I'm kind of going to go through all these guys and break down my perceptions of them, their teams, and then kind of give you an overview of what their cards are looking at, what their cards are selling for based on the current price of the Prism PSA 10 from their draft year. So let's start here over on the left with Josh Allen. Josh Allen, his completion percentage jumped 10 points to 69.7% in 2020. Threw for 4,500 plus yards, 45 total touchdowns. Took the Bills to the AFC title game. He was a second team All-Pro, PFF's number 11 overall quarterback, and one of the most mysterious cases of rapid improvement in NFL history. When he was coming out in 2018, I was way off about him. I think I and many others looked at him as like another Kyle Baller or Joe Flacco type, just a big guy who couldn't hit targets, played at a smaller school against lesser competition, but he is a testament to the idea that you can improve your accuracy while in the league. So Allen is definitely a top 5 QB that I would invest in at this point. He's on a good team. They're poised to be a contender for many years, and he may win an MVP, may win a Super Bowl, and I think that bodes well for his hobby value. Right now, his Prism PSA 10 from 2018 is trending at $950, so under $1,000, and you'll see Mahomes is over $8,000, so I think he's not a bad buy, and I'm going to put him up here in the A tier, which is where I think he belongs. Next, Joey B, who's a favorite of mine, number 1 overall pick in 2019, was off to a hot start in 2020, had over 2,600 yards, 13 TDs, and five interceptions, which over 16 games equates to 4,300 yards, 21 TDs, and 8 interceptions. 13th overall QB per PFF last year. And his expected points added, he was, I think, 16th in the league. The teams added Jamar Chase, Riley Reif, Jackson Carman as their left guard in the second round. I love Joe Burrow. I'm a bit biased. I think based on current production, he probably belongs in the B tier, but I'm extremely optimistic about him, and I think he's going to be a star in the league. I'm going to put him in the A tier. His Prism PSA 10 is going for about $395 or $400 right now, so I don't advocate buying base, by the way. This is just to give you an idea of what these guys are looking at relative to the other guys on this chart. Next up, Derek Carr. He's been in the league since 2014. He was a second rounder out of Fresno State. Made the Pro Bowl 3 times, 92.1 career passer rating, but in 5 out of his 7 years starting, the Raiders have been below 500, and then in one of the other years, they were 8-8. So he's only had 1 year above 500, and that was in 2016 when it looked like he was going to be an MVP type of candidate in the future, but he got hurt. I think he broke his ankle in December of that year, and just hasn't really. He's been a good player and a guy almost who's in no man's land. He's not good enough to be a consistent playoff winner, but he's not bad enough to get rid of. Overall, PFF had him as the 21st quarterback in the league, and I kind of tend to think he's in the back half of QBs at this point. His 2014 Prism PSA 10 is only about $200, so Not a bad buy if you expect big things out of the Raiders, but I'm going to put Carr here in the C tier, which is where I think he belongs. Up next, Sam Darnold, same draft class as Josh Allen, was drafted ahead of him, number 3 overall pick. Struggled with the Jets, was traded to the Panthers this offseason. Under Adam Gase, he was one of the worst players in football, or sorry, one of the worst quarterbacks in football. 45 to 39 career TD to interception ratio, 20 fumbles too. So almost 60 turnovers in his career so far. And Gase admitted that he hadn't helped Darnold. The good thing about Darnold is, number one, he's actually still younger than Joe Burrow. Number two, he goes to Carolina where he's paired with Joe Brady out of LSU, who got a lot out of Burrow when Burrow was in school there. And Darnold is a really smart guy, really smart QB. He's great in the red zone in college, superior intelligence, really impeccable timing, tends to lead receivers well. And he goes to Carolina now with DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Christian McCaffrey, and Terrace Marshall as well. So I'm a bit optimistic on Darnold, but I still have him in the C tier at this point because I just couldn't justify bumping him up to the B tier based on what we've seen so far. His Prism PSA 10 from 2018 is only about $150, so not a bad buy for a career resurgence there, if that's what you think is going to happen. All right, up next we have Justin Fields, who is the number 11 overall pick this year. So the Chicago Bears was my number 2 QB in the 2021 class. He is probably, well, Lawrence is in the class, so he's by far the second most accurate passer in the class. Excellent accuracy at every level of the field. He was number 2 most accurate QB in the class per PFF, 80.8% adjusted completion percentage, extremely poised in the pocket. He stands tall in the pocket, sometimes to a fault, goes through his progressions and will tend to hold the ball a little bit long, but that's fixable. And when the pocket collapses, he uses his legs. He's sort of unlike Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts. He is sort of a run-second QB, even though he's about as athletic as those guys. And we saw in college that he performs on the biggest stages, and I anticipate he'll do the same thing in the NFL. So I'm going to put him in the B tier. I'm very optimistic about him. Sorry about that, just made that screen really big. Up next, we got Jared Goff, number 1 overall pick in 2016. It's been 4 years under Sean McVay, but I figured that if Goff had it, we would have seen it by now. He was great during some of the regular season. 2018 went to the Super Bowl, but if you watch that game, which was not entertaining by any stretch, but as a Patriots fan, I felt very good going into that game and was proven right by Bill Belichick's defensive scheme and the way he planned for Goff. Goff just does not handle pressure well. Just number 23 QB per PFF over the past 2 years, and goes to a team that's in rebuild mode with one of the worst, maybe the worst receiver core in the league. So I'm not optimistic about him. His Prism PSA 10 is trending at 170 right now, and I don't even think I would buy at that price. So I'm going to put Jared Goff in the D tier. Next, we get another first-round bust, but of a greater magnitude. Dwayne Haskins, 2019 first-rounder, was cut in his second season after finding his way into Ron Rivera's doghouse. 12 to 14 TD to interception ratio for his career. Signed with the Steelers, and I think has a chip on his shoulder now. But he just seems to wilt under pressure. Miserable downfield accuracy, and just looks lost with complex coverages, and he's not elusive in the pocket or the open field, despite having some athleticism. I am not optimistic about him. I think he is a bust. Will we get to see him again? I don't know. I anticipate he'll stick around with the Steelers for a year or two. They'll draft another guy, and he'll just probably circulate around the league as a backup. His Prism PSA 10 is the lowest of anyone on this list at $51, and understandably so. He is going to go into the F tier. Next up, Justin Herbert, the 2020 darling, the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Herbert, if you could build a QB in a lab, Trevor Lawrence would probably be your number one guy, but Herbert's not far behind. He's 6'6", elite size, big frame, big arm, elite downfield accuracy, and just adjusted really quickly to the speed of the NFL game. Shows amazing poise, composure under pressure, was one of PFF's best QBs under pressure last year, and number 7 overall QB as a rookie. I just think the world of him. I think he's going to be a great QB for years to come. It's going to be tough in that division with Patrick Mahomes, but it doesn't. The Chiefs won't necessarily be good every year of Patrick Mahomes' career, and there's going to be, if the playoff field expands to 7 teams, then Herbert could sneak in as a wild card, and you never know what could happen. He's an immensely talented player, and he's got a great receiving core. Even with the departure of Hunter Henry, he's got great talent around him, including a really fortified offensive line with the addition of Rashawn Slater. Very optimistic about him. I'm going to put him in the A tier as well. His Prism PSA 10 is going for about $600 right now, which I think is a little overpriced for the time being, but maybe in the future if it dips, I would buy. Okay, next up, Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts was a second-round pick out of Oklahoma after transferring from Alabama. He was benched for Tua Tagovailoa at Alabama. Took over for Carson Wentz after he got benched down the stretch last year. And in his first 2 games, really sparked the team with his legs. Didn't make too many mistakes, made a lot of good decisions. He's just had flashes of good and bad because week 16 against the Cowboys, he throws 2 horrible interceptions, fumbles 2 times as well. And then in week 17, everybody probably remembers that game. It was a win and you're in situation for the Eagles. He went 7 of 20, 72 yards and an interception, 25.4 QB rating, and was benched for Nate Sudfeld in the fourth quarter. 52% completion percentage, I think largely attributable to his poor mechanics. His arm strength is good, not great. I think he's got a chip on his shoulder, but that can only take you so far. I think he's got physical limitations as a passer, and even though he may be a great fantasy player as a runner, I don't know that he's going to be a prolonged success as a hobby value. So I would not recommend buying Hurts. I'm going to put him in the C tier. I've got his Prism PSA 10 at $250 right now. So actually, I think if you want to buy now and try to sell before the season, that's not a bad move because $250 is not too high. All right, up next we've got the 2019 MVP and All-Pro Lamar Jackson, who's compiled a 30-7 record over the course of his career. It's the first QB in NFL history with 2 1,000-yard rushing seasons. Last year, I think we started out seeing a Lamar Jackson who was trying too hard to be a pocket passer, but had a great second half when he started playing a little bit more off script and not forcing as many throws. He's a dangerous player, maybe the most dangerous QB in the league with his legs. Not maybe, definitely. And the Ravens just are always a Super Bowl contender, or at least always a playoff contender. They're always making noise in the AFC. I'm going to put Lamar Jackson in the A tier. I think he is up there with Josh Allen, Burrow, and Herbert for sure, ahead of Burrow and Herbert right now. But as this is a predictive model, I think he's right there with them. His Prism PSA 10 is going for about $900, so not too far behind Josh Allen. All right, up next we got Daniel Jones, otherwise known as Danny Dimes. He's been hot and cold. He was actually a top deep ball thrower in football in 2020. He had a 48.2% completion percentage on throws over 20 plus yards. 5 to 0 touchdown to interception ratio and 134.3 rating on those throws. And his expected completion percentage, the expected completion percentage there was only 34%. So he outperformed what, someone would ordinarily be expected to do downfield. The Giants added Kenny Golladay, Kyle Rudolph, John Ross, Kadarius Toney, all through free agency or the draft. So the direction in which it sounds like I'm going right is to buy Jones, but I probably wouldn't. He was the 28th, PFF's 28th QB in the league last year. His grade did improve from his 2019 season, which showed you how bad he was in 2019. But he needs to be able to create more plays outside of structure. He's not really a charismatic leader. I'm skeptical that, or I think that he may have already hit the best that we've seen from him. Even if he makes minimal improvements, I don't think he's going to take a big leap like Josh Allen. Now, I'm very willing to acknowledge that I could get burned on this, but I'm going to put Daniel Jones in the C tier here. Over the next 5 years, I don't see him being anything more than just a replacement level starter. All right, up next we got Mac Jones. He was the most accurate thrower, I think, in the nation last year. 86.6% adjusted completion percentage, through 70% accuracy under pressure. Just the drawback here is that he played in the perfect college offense with the perfect personnel. Amazing line, amazing weapons, multiple first rounders, multiple high picks. He's a big guy, statuesque in the pocket. Could be the next kind of Joe Flacco as far as that goes. He doesn't have much mobility, but he's in a system in New England under Josh McDaniels that is optimal for his skill set. He just needs some help at the wide receiver position. I think that his hobby value could be accelerated by the Patriots winning, and I predict them to be, bias aside, right? A very good team that's going to stay in contention over the next several years. So I'm going to put Jones in the B tier. I kind of wavered between putting him in the C tier, but I think he's going to be better than all these guys in the next 5 years. So I'm going to keep him in the B tier. Up next, Trey Lance, extremely raw, number 3 overall pick. Faced a lot of low-level competition in college, but performed at a high level against it. Has an elite skill set, insane arm strength, really good touch on his passes, and uses his size in the run game. When he gets outside of structure, the pocket collapses. He can bowl over defenders. Needs to improve his accuracy overall, but that's largely due to his footwork, which is better than having issues with arm mechanics. And Lance, to me, is kind of like a guy, is kind of like Jones, not in the sense that they're similar players, but in the sense that they're going to optimal systems. And Lance probably is going to the best situation of any QB in this draft with Kyle Shanahan, who has had just immense success with QBs over his history of head coaching and as an offensive coordinator. And I think if there's anybody who can get the most out of Trey Lance, it's Kyle Shanahan. And if there's any quarterback that I think has the best chance of going to Super Bowl, it might be Trey Lance, from this class, that is. So I'm going to put Trey Lance in the B tier. I really like him and think that in a couple of years, he can be an elite starter. Now, if this were a tier for only 2021, he would probably be in my C or D tier because he's just so raw at this point. Trevor Lawrence, elite traits. I mean, he is the optimal prospect. Like I said, lab built, probably the best QB prospect since Andrew Luck. He was 6'6", hands are 10 inches, just unreal arm strength. He's got a howitzer, man. Just deep ball accuracy. I think he had a 97.7 grade per PFF on downfield balls, and can pick up tells on blitzes really well. Just has really, really keen ability to read defenses. The major concern with him is honestly the team he's going to in Jacksonville that's seen some turnover. I think there's questions about whether Urban Meyer can be a successful head coach in the NFL, and whether his college tactics work in the NFL. Lawrence fortunately has good weapons, good line, and on talent alone and hype alone, I think I got to put him in the A tier, as I do think he'll be an elite QB. And even if he's not, his hobby prices are going to be high just because he has such a esteemed pedigree coming out of college. Next, we got Jordan Love. He's a bit of a polarizing prospect, or was a polarizing prospect coming out of school. Perfect size, 6'4", huge arm, can fit throws in tight windows, but way too often just misses defenders or ignores them. Very high bad decision percentage. And there's a lot of uncertainty about whether he will be a starter this year, the following year, 3 years from now. So if this is for the next 5 years and I've just had that much uncertainty, I've got to put Love in the D tier right now. He could move up to the C tier if we have any indication that he's going to be starting. But for right now, D tier. Prism PSA 10 trending at $215. If you think Aaron Rodgers is going to get traded, then by all means, buy Jordan Love. I'm just not convinced that that's going to happen. All right, up next, this is pretty easy. Patrick Mahomes, Super Bowl champ, been in a second Super Bowl, 2018 MVP and All-Pro, 2020 second team All-Pro, 114 passing touchdowns to 24 interceptions. I mean, he is by far the best QB in the league. We'll put him in the A tier. His Prism PSA 10 is trending for $8,500. So you can see the huge distinction between these guys. Most of them have cards under 1,000. Almost all of them. I think all of them have cards under 1,000, except for Mahomes, who's about 8 times Josh Allen, 9 times Josh Allen's Prism PSA 10 price. So Mahomes is the fantasy darling. If you can afford him, by all means, buy him. Next, we got Baker Mayfield, another guy who can be kind of hot and cold. Led the Browns to their first playoff win in 2020 in a long time. PFF's 10th overall QB. Took care of the ball very well in 2020, only 8 interceptions. But he had, 4 games with no passing touchdowns, 3 games with 1 passing touchdown. But you saw a noticeable shift in the second half. Increased his yards per game, yards per attempt, completion percentage, and touchdown to interception ratio. And he plays for a top-tier team in the AFC. Number 1 overall pick. He's going to have a long leash. I anticipate he's going to get a big extension. And there's a lot of people who love him. His Prism 10 is only trending at $415. So he's not a bad buy. I've seen a lot of people buying it, driving up that price a little bit. I'm going to put Baker in the B tier. I don't think he's elite. I don't think he's on the level of these guys in the A tier. But I also don't think he's a C tier guy. I think he's going to be right there, nestled in between them, as long as the Browns stay a relevant team in the AFC. All right, next, Kyler Murray, PFF's 13th overall QB. Number 9 passing grade on deep passes last year. It was the second best. He's the second best rushing QB in the NFL after Lamar Jackson. And he plays under Cliff Kingsbury with some elite pass catchers. He hasn't shown up in big spots yet. He's only played 2 years, and I think his shoulder injury really hampered him last year. He's a guy I'm looking to buy right now. His Prism PSA 10 is only at $390. It's below Baker Mayfield's. I like him in the A tier here. Some of you may disagree, think he's a B tier guy, but from a predictive standpoint, I'm going to keep him in the A tier because I think that under Kingsbury and with the weapons he has, he's going to be a stud. Dak Prescott next, 2016 NFL Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year. Had a bit of a down year in 2017, but heading into 2021, PFF has him as the 7th best QB in the NFL. He was second in the league in 2019 with 4,900 yards and was on pace for 6,000 before breaking his ankle last year. 10th in expected points added per play since the start of 2018, ahead of Russell Wilson. And, from a hobby standpoint, he plays for America's team. He lacks the draft pedigree, which may hurt him a little bit, but he's in commercials and people see him a lot. He came out about his struggles with mental health and is an advocate for that. So I think he's got a lot of relatability to the American public. No postseason success yet, but I think that will come in time. His Prism PSA 10 from 2016 is about $750. I am going to put Dak Prescott in the A tier, as I do agree that he is a top 10 QB in the NFL at this point. Next, we have Tua Tagovailoa, third overall pick in 2020, 6-3 record as a starter. Really struggled just adjusting to the speed of the NFL game, was not good under pressure. He's the only worst player under pressure was Drew Lock, but he also had the second lowest on-target percentage of deep balls in the NFL behind Wentz, second lowest on-target percentage of short balls behind Cam Newton. He's talked about issues with the playbook, but he's apparently revamped his delivery this offseason. We'll see if the speed of the game slows down at all for him, and he's better at processing defenses. He's got Will Fuller and Jalen Waddle, both brought in to help him. I am not optimistic about him. I don't think the Dolphins are going to be a great team, and I think he's going to be a large reason why. I'm going to put him in the C tier, behind, underneath these B guys. His Prism PSA 10's at $290. To me, I'm staying away. But if you trust in his development under the Flores regime, then I think he's not a bad buy at that price. All right, 5 guys left. Ryan Tannehill, 2012 first rounder, going back a little bit, but believe it or not, he is still 32 or younger. Last 1.5 seasons, he's just blossomed into an elite QB. He's got 55 touchdowns over that time, passing touchdowns, and only 13 interceptions. Had 40 total touchdowns in 2020, including the rushing touchdowns. Led the Titans to the AFC divisional round 2020. The conference championship, actually, in 2020 after they beat the Patriots and the Ravens. And that was 2019. AFC wild card in 2020, AFC title game in 2019. There we go. He is, I think, he has an elite line, an elite run game, and now has A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. I don't foresee him being the star of that offense. And QBs to really attain hobby value need to be a star of their offense. So Tannehill I'm going to put in the C tier, not because it's an indictment on his performance, but rather his appeal. His Prism PSA 10 is at $225. All right, Deshaun Watson led the league in passing 2020, 70.2% completion percentage, second in PFF's rankings, and was third in adjusted net yards per attempt. He's got 1-2 playoff record. Some off-the-field concerns is the big reason why I'm a little dubious of his future. He has major upside when healthy, but I'd be pretty terrified to buy right now. And even when he is healthy, the team has not yet achieved much success. I think largely due to the coaching regime, but that obviously has changed. So I think when drama-free, he's in A tier, but I'm going to put him in the B tier to hedge against that risk that I think could result from any future punitive measures that the NFL may take against him. Carson Wentz, third worst in PFF last year, passing grades, bench for Jalen Hurts down the stretch. 2017 was an MVP candidate, top 5 passer in the league, number 2 overall pick in 2016. But his total QB rating was 27th in the league last year. He's repaired with Frank Reich, the head coach of the Colts, who was his offensive coordinator in Philly in 2017. So there's some reason for optimism there, but until I see it, it's hard for me to believe. I'm going to put Carson Wentz in the C tier as well. his Prism PSA 10 is $400. And by the way, Deshaun Watson's Prism PSA 10, I forgot to mention, that's at $575, and it was at $835 prior to most of these accusations being levied, which means it's down almost 32% in that time span. Two guys left. Russell Wilson, I mean, he's just one of the greatest QBs ever. One of the best season in and season out. 8 of his 9 years he's been to the playoffs. 4th highest career passer rating in NFL history. I'm going to put him in the A tier. I think that's pretty obvious. Even over the next 5 years at his age, I think he's going to be elite. His Prism PSA 10's at $850. You can also buy his Topps Chrome, 2012 Topps Chrome at $650 if you're looking for something a little more affordable. Wouldn't mind that. And then lastly, his brother Zach Wilson. Great arm, big arm, can move outside of structure, can throw bombs without his feet planted, has good field vision, great deep ball accuracy, but played a really soft schedule in FBS last year, 89th strength of schedule. Played a really friendly wide zone play action system that made him look better than he is, I think. It simplified his reads, opened up lanes by sort of manufacturing schemes that defenders would bite on. I don't care for him. I don't think he's going to be a long-term solution for the Jets. I'm going to put him in the C tier. And I could be wrong. Now, I didn't want to be too harsh on these guys. DNF tier. If I added some more guys, Teddy Bridgewater, Drew Lock, they'd probably be in the DNF tier. I wanted to keep it to 25 since we're already at almost 32 minutes. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you joining me. Hopefully you made it through all this video. If you find it interesting, like, comment, subscribe. Leave a comment down below what you agree, what you disagree with, and whether you like these types of tier videos, because I might do it for other positions or Panini products or inserts or all kinds of stuff. So please let me know, and as always, subscriptions help the channel grow. And I will be back on the 27th for my box battle with Cowboys Fan Trading Cards, and also plan to do a product review of a new slab case I got. I might do that tomorrow, so tune in for that. As always, guys, thanks, and have a good night.